to be.
I've not had anybody tell me that.
Huh?
I thought you meant the dive watch.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, not the dive watch. Good. That's a good option.
Okay, I think we're thumbs up.
Okay,
We're
I was
on.
drinking a little cup of coffee, and it was hot, and probably too hot in your world. Keith with PrevailOverCancer.com. He's always guiding us on the right and wrong things to do. And, man, have you changed the way I live?
Oh,
I mean,
good or bad?
Oh, good. I mean,
Okay, good.
Obviously good, because things I just didn't know.
Well, you know, we're talking about relationships and pushing buttons and things like that before we're hopefully on the air. But anyway, my wife, she does get a little frustrated with me because I have so many things I change.
I would too. My
know,
wife
it's
would
like-
be, she'd be the same way with me if I told her who was telling me all this stuff. She'd come after you.
and so matter of fact, she doesn't like to go to the store with me. And so she wants to go by herself. And actually she had surgery recently, as you know, and we had to go together. And I enjoyed that. I enjoy being with her, and she's a lovely person, and I'm blessed. But
How much of what she picked up did you put back?
And so, well, when I go, we're going with what I get. And so now she's back, and she's enjoying buying things without me.
Yep.
And so, but we still go. Matter of fact, we went yesterday and picked up a few more things. And but the way I view it is, we don't have to be perfect, and we have to make all these changes. Matter of fact, I'm making changes all the time.
Yeah, same here.
And so it's not like we have to be perfect all the time. And I do change. And so, matter of fact, this shirt, is 100% cotton. The undershirt is 100% cotton. My underwear is 100% cotton. I got blue jeans, 100% cotton. So I'm trying to make better choices. One of the things we talked about was plastics.
Yep.
And so, the synthetics, we're trying to trying to reduce that exposure, whether it be clothing, or other things. And so, my preference is, even in my truck, I have leather seats. And I have leather boots on, and my favorite boots are actually snakeskin with the leather soles, and which are hard to find, leather soles anymore. But so I'm just trying to do the best I can, with that.
So he will change your world if you let him. That's all I had to say. So I'm Paul with Hyperbaric.plus, and welcome to our weekly Facebook Live presentation, which shows on all different. Ryan is a maestro at getting us on several platforms at one time. That's why we wear mics, we have mics, and anyway, Ryan does a great job getting us out there. I have a lot of people at church that are going, man, I'm seeing your videos all the time, and that's what I want to hear. So I like to do a disclaimer.
Yes.
So let's get that out of the way.
So the disclaimer. So the information that we're presenting today is for education purposes only. It is not, we're not prescribing what you should do. And we're not your doctor. So if you have any questions, you should evaluate that, learn, ask somebody, ask your doctors before you make, especially before you make any changes to your healthcare program. So be very careful about that. We're going to be talking about supplements today. And so supplements, come from natural products, but the federal government has not, they don't recognize those as being diagnostic or treating or preventing any kind of a health disease. So therefore, just I have that disclaimer, and on this video, and then also on our handout too.
Right.
So on that, so the handout is also available at hyperbaric.plus, and it is not available at PrevailOverCancer.com. I ran out of time.
Oh, I got it.
And I'll give a little plug. The reason is I won't have so much time in a day, but I also have a free workshop that I'm going to be giving Monday. And so I'm working on that. And so I let time slip by early this morning. And so but I have a workshop on 5 cancer supplement mistakes, a free workshop. So go to my website and get that information. I'll have more information. If it's not on there, check back, okay? Once again, I only have so much time, so I didn't get it all done today. And I will be posting this on the Learning Center at the bottom of the webpage. And then also, we have, these are also put into Rumble and YouTube videos. And so those are out there all the time. And on the YouTube channel, if you look under, there's a live button on our profiles. And under the live, Also YouTube also calls that streaming, but on the live button, all those videos are there. And so that we are making, recording, and Ryan is helping us with that. So,
Cool.
So a lot of information out there, and all of our past ones be there. And so, it's neat to be able to share this information with you.
Yep. And the other deal is people come up with questions, and
Yes,
so if
that's
you'll
right.
get into our chat and ask questions, Ryan's monitoring that in about a quarter till. We'll get those questions and answer as many of them as we can before the top of the hour.
That's right. So submit your questions, and like last week we had a lot of great questions. There's a couple I didn't get to. I try to answer those. So submit those. If we don't get to them, or you have some later, put those on the video and description or comments rather, and I will be happy to answer those.
Cool.
On that. So
viruses.
Viruses.
Man,
yeah.
That's kind of a scary. That's kind of a scary topic today,
Well,
isn't it?
Well, it could be, but yeah, that's a mental game.
Well, I think it's by design to keep us scared.
Well,
that's personal.
That there are some theories about
Yeah.
that. That's right. But viruses can be serious. They are infections, and some people are more susceptible to others. And so, there's instances, as a matter of fact, it's happened many, many times. There's been viruses and epidemics go through that killed millions of people, and in the past, and so it is a factor. Yes, we are exposed to those all the time, and there's no other way I can say that except we're going to be exposed, to viruses. But I want to share things that we can do to help keep it from becoming a problem.
Right.
And to help our immune system take care of that. Our body is made to handle viruses, and if we have a deficiency in some basic actions and nutrients, it can become a major problem.
So, not to get off the path, but think back in the old days when they didn't know washing your hands was so beneficial. And I mean, it was not long ago that they finally figured out that, hey, if I'm going to go into an operating suite and then go to another operating suite, I probably ought to wash my hands. What would happen if I wash my hands? Is that crazy? I mean, we think of that nowadays.
Right, yeah, and
So-
we do know that now. And so, and disinfecting, whether it be our hands, matter of fact, it really doesn't make much difference what kind of a disinfecting solution you use, although, actually it could be, as 70% alcohol, actually 99% doesn't work as good. So because it evaporates too fast. So washing your hands for 20 seconds, with soap and water, with alcohol,
Running water.
hydrogen peroxide, but that 20 seconds is the time it takes, or disinfecting a surface, it takes about 20 seconds for that to kill viruses. And what it does is that those ingredients, even hydrogen peroxide, it actually breaks down the cell, well, not the cell wall, those aren't cells, but the walls and pieces of the virus. But it takes about 20 seconds. So washing your hands and things like that, and those are important. And so even I am more aware, especially after I'm around a lot of people, or in situations where I may be shaking hands, and so I'm not going to be rubbing my eyes and my nose as much. So I shared in the chamber, and I've shared with you also in the previously. I did a genetic test with 3xgenetics.com, and my vitamin D receptor doesn't work from both parents. So now that means my natural killer cells and T cells and bones and muscles, almost every cell in my body, isn't 100%. So
I tell you what
makes it more susceptible.
Yeah, I'll tell you what changed my world is when I go into the men's room and how many men walk out of the men's room without stopping at the sink. And it makes you want to do the potato shake with everybody. I mean, let's do knuckles, because I don't trust half of the people out there when they go to the doggone restroom.
Sure, it's going to happen. That's correct.
So anyway.
That's right. So,
people go, man, you're weird. You pay attention to that stuff. And I go, yeah, it's disgusting. So anyway, if you're listening to me and you're one of them, make that little change. It
Exactly, make that change.
It just takes 20 seconds.
So it just takes 20 seconds. Yeah, that's right. But also, we can't rely on somebody else. We can't rely on the government.
No.
We had some discussions about that. We can't. So we have to take care of ourselves.
Yep.
And so, I keep that bottle of 70% alcohol spray, a little tiny bottle, in my truck,
Yep.
in my wife's van, so that we can spray.
I got it.
Because I've seen the same thing so many times. I shouldn't laugh. That's
Ready
very
when you
serious.
are, sir.
Okay, yes, by the way, so how many viruses do you think infect our bodies? How many different
I'm not
viruses do you
even
think could
gonna
be in
guess.
your body?
I'm sure you have a number.
I have a number, 219.
Ow. How'd you come to 19?
I don't know.
I'd say 220.
Yeah, so 219, is species are known to infect humans. And so,
Wow.
okay, now that doesn't mean we have 219 in our body at this instant, and but there's 219 that we know of, and sometimes there's some new ones that come on board. And so it's actually probably growing because we're exposed all the time to viruses, and some viruses can
they mutate. Yeah.
can mutate and create new challenges and come up. And those that have a way to evade part of the immune system have a tendency to surge up and become prevalent. And so, but other parts of our immune system can't help with that. So it's it's something that's going to happen. But once again, I want to share things that we can do to help prevent that. So, by the way, if you have questions, be sure and submit those questions. We will cover that, and the handouts will be available at prevailOverCancer.com, Learning Center, and Hyperbarics.plus, the resources page. So, our body is made to fight viruses. These things have been around forever. And you are not defenseless. We got things that we can do. Barriers, is important. And so we mentioned about, soap and washing and things like that, and being careful about, eating and rubbing your eyes without washing your hands. Okay, because the viruses are everywhere. There's viruses on my hand, that have been in the air, and so you want to be careful about mucous membranes. So the mouth, the nose, the eyes, definitely, and other private parts, we can spread those, to areas. So it's going to be very important. We do have what are called rapid responders in our body, and the immune system in our body starts attacking those. So we are going to be exposed to it, and part of those immune system cells are actually going to remember that. So once we have a virus infection, we can now be exposed to that virus again, and as long as it's exactly the same virus, we're not going to have problems unless it's a mutated version. And then, once again, actually parts of that mutated virus are still going to be the same, so parts of our immune system are going to remember that. So the goal is actually for it to be a very minor type thing. We also have targeted memory, where like the T cells, and which are part of the B cells, they actually remember those infections probably for almost ever. And so we're talking about shingles and chickenpox earlier, in the chamber, and we have those viruses in our body. So if we're exposed to a child or another, adult with that, you're probably not going to get that virus again, unless by chance there's a little mutation in it, and then we might have a little bit of a problem. But we can remember for most of those viruses. So even a cold, if you had a cold that maybe 20 years ago, there's actually, we didn't really know this, okay, but there are different cold viruses. Matter of fact, each cold that you get is actually a mutated cold virus, which has been around for many years. And matter of fact, when white man came to North America, white man introduced viruses that almost wiped out a lot of Native Americans because they weren't used to that. They didn't have that immunity. Now they do, and so they can handle it just as good as anybody else, but that created a problem. So once again, a mutated virus is going to be more a challenge. So our immune system does remember, it can target it, but now I want to talk about things that we can do to help fight it. And so besides the barrier protection, meaning being careful about our exposure in your mouth and your mucous membranes, but matter of fact, there's with the last pandemic, there's been a lot of research about this. And I became addicted at that time reading medical journals about viruses. What are things that help fight viruses? And it's interesting, a lot of foods, we're going to go through these foods, but actually they call it small particles. That means little tiny pieces of these foods, polyphenols, for example, attach to the virus and keeps it from working. And so some of these viruses have they all have kind of like an attachment mechanism, a spike in some cases, but that spike can, it kind of does that and attaches. Well, these small particles seem to get in there and attach to that spike, and now it can't work as good. So what we eat makes a big difference, in that. And so we have to have those polyphenols, those dark-colored fruits and vegetables. And in this case, actually, the first thing we're going to talk about actually is a light-colored one, but there's ingredients in garlic and onions. So, matter of fact, we've known for years about how garlic helps with colds. And eating a lot of garlic, not only does it keep vampires away, but it will help fight viruses.
I wear them around my neck, and also keeps my wife away. But anyway,
but those sulfur compounds, help your immune system, and also helps it helps the immune system to work better. And there's actually some studies. I got a reference on here, reference number 3, in case social media is kind of checking things, and they do. It actually helps with fewer and shorter duration of colds. So there's actually some science behind that. So yes, garlic and garlic and onions, mushrooms. The next topic, shiitake, maitake, reishi. Other mushrooms probably also count, but they just haven't been studied as much. But the beta-glucans in those ingredients, they actually prime, what are called macrophages, to start attacking things. And once that macrophage attaches to a cell and it starts fighting that, it sends out chemicals to the rest of the immune system. Come on over, let's take care of this problem. So we get a cascade effect. So eating mushrooms on a regular basis, matter of fact, we go to the grocery store once a week at least, and we always are buying mushrooms.
Which kind do you buy when you're at the store?
I usually will go ahead and go with like shiitake mushrooms, and mainly because that's what's here.
Yeah,
okay.
I was going to say, it's hard to find.
It's hard to find here.
That leads me to my question. If you were to use mushrooms in a different way, what a powder?
Yes.
Can you buy the powder and use that in your food? Is there any taste?
They're kind of earthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the powders are definitely an option. People like to make coffees.
I drink mushroom coffee every morning. It's got 4 mushrooms in it, including these 3.
So temperature. So we have to be careful about temperature. So on your kettle, you can set it so it needs to be like a green tea type temperature. Above 170, we're going to start breaking down the beta-glucans probably. And other nutrients are going to be in those mushrooms. That's a definite option. And matter of fact, there's times of the year or certain situations I will take actually supplements of those beta-glucans, to support my immune system and to fight things. So if I think I'm coming down with a cold, I'll have to admit, I personally will take a beta-glucan capsule. And I'm not going to rely on actually, we add the mushrooms into a stir fry. We do stir fry 2 or 3 times a week. Even outside grilling, I'm going to be grilling some meat of some kind, and then I have a side grill, and I'm doing a stir fry out there with the vegetables, and I add the mushrooms at the very end, and just for a minute or 2, and that's it. If you overcook or overheat the mushrooms, we may lose some of that benefit, with that. So, but the beta-glucans, and such, and other things in the mushrooms definitely help out. It helps the immune system to work better. So the colorful produce and citrus, so fruits and vegetables, those colors are called polyphenols. Those polyphenols are antioxidants that work in many different ways. And part of that is what's in the medical research they call small particles. Matter of fact, drug companies are coming out with small particles. So, and I don't know exactly what that means, but that's in science, that's what they're calling them, and they attach to viruses and help keep them from functioning. Think of a virus as almost like a mechanical robot. You know, it's moving around like this. And if we can add something in there so now it can't move as good, it's not going to and do its job. It's not going to be injected into the body and inject its RNA and replication type things. So, but that's the polyphenols from fruits and vegetables. Green and black tea. And I have to admit, I don't know, coffee, I didn't make it, but even coffee, you know, anything, any food with color is going to have antiviral type effects.
Now, you said we make changes slowly, surely.
Mm-hmm.
So I went from a dark roast
to a lighter.
To a medium,
Mm-hmm.
and then, so I've got medium and light now.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't notice a difference, especially by the time I put coconut oil, mushrooms, and butter.
Mm-hmm.
I put in my coffee.
And your cinnamon.
Uh-huh. And the
It's
cinnamon.
cinnamon.
Yep.
Oh, it tastes good.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I do all that in my coffee in the morning, and I gotta think those are the right things to do. And it was hard. It wasn't hard, but it didn't have the same flavor as that dark roast that I always drank. And so that's a simple change
Yes.
to boost the number of polyphenols.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
So that roasting is going to damage some of those benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so I've switched to a medium roast instead of a dark roast. You know what I do? I just make it stronger. I just add more
Yep.
coffee.
Yep.
And so I do like the taste. I love the taste of coffee.
Yep.
And so I just make it stronger. I add more coffee to it.
Yep.
So matter of fact, my son-in-law, it's when he's at my house or I'm at his house, it's a race of who's going to make the coffee because evidently mine's too strong. So,
my wife serves it with a spoon, not to stir, to eat.
okay.
So yeah, it's strong.
So I love it strong, and so as a matter of fact, now when we go over to his house, he's just making it the night before, so I don't have a choice. I just turn it on, and or the timer goes, and it comes, and it starts brewing. So, you know, at his house. So when it's at my house, I get to do that. So let's see here. Other foods. So teas. The black and green teas, the catechins and EGCG, they interfere with viral entry and replication. Reference number 5. And then the culinary herbs. Matter of fact, I'm just going to mention a few that have the most research, but any herb is the same thing. Okay, it has nutrients in it that helps to fight bacterial and virus infections. I'm going to mention a few, but ginger, turmeric, and other culinary herbs, once again, have those polyphenols, those tiny particles, microparticles, that also anti-inflammatory. So, you know, when we get a cold or the flu, the inflammation, you know, and the fever and the achiness, that's what makes us feel bad, you know, and the runny nose and sneezing, but the redness, you know, that is one of those signs about inflammation. Well, what we eat, you know, including the polyphenols from fruits and vegetables and fish oils and fat, and doesn't have to be fish oils, but nuts and seed oils and krill oil, all of these are anti-inflammatory. They reduce, I can't say prevent, but they reduce those symptoms and that are going on in the body.
So Keith, you get a fever for a reason. Why does the body turn into a fever? So do you push back on that fever, or do you let it run its course?
I let it run. Matter of fact,
Yep.
You know, I mentioned in the chamber that I've had the flu as an adult a few times, and I choose not to get a vaccine because I want my immune system to exercise. Right. And the matter of fact, when I do get a cold or a flu or any kind of a virus infection, the first thing I do is I wrap up, I put sweats on, I wrap up that blanket, and now that I have a sauna, I'm getting in the sauna, you know, to allow the temperature to go up. And matter of fact, I've had a couple, there's been twice I can think of, I had the flu, and literally I wrapped up and I heated up, I hydrated through the whole process. Within 24 hours, it was gone. I was back to work. And now also, as a pharmacist, I owned a pharmacy. It costs a lot of money to bring a pharmacist in. Matter of fact, if you can find one, I couldn't close a business. I've literally laid on the floor in the back of the pharmacy, you know, sick, and go home, wrap up, heat that out, sweat that out. I mean, we're talking about bed-soaking sweat. The next morning, I'm perfectly fine. Okay.
But if you were to retard that with medication, with
Correct.
anything to reduce your fever, all you're doing is extending the length of time you're going to.
That's part of our immune system. That fever is actually how our body fights infections. Right. As a matter of fact, the sauna, now I have this sauna. If I have any doubt whatsoever, man, I'm in that sauna at least once a day, maybe twice a day. And I definitely feel better. There's been a few times I've had a virus infection recently. I got in there and it did not fully develop. So yes, so I'm pushing that temperature. Matter of fact, I even check my temperature in the sauna to make sure I'm getting up to at least 101.3.
And as important, you're checking your heart rate.
And heart rate, check the heart rate too. So I also, I know my heart rate gets up to about 150, so which is on the top end due to the heat, and oxygen is not at a high level because I'm in this small sauna, so I make sure there's good ventilation, but that seems to help out with the heart rate a little bit, but it's hot, and so my body's trying to cool itself. So being with that, the heat is very important. So there's actually studies and well known about how, lowering the temperature, may prolong a virus infection.
Right.
Yep, on that. Okay, so the culinary herbs, as a matter of fact, I'm just going with everything I can get, and trying to be as natural as possible with that. So fermented foods like yogurt and kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, these live cultured foods have bacteria in them that support our gut. Our gut bacteria makes about 70% of our immune system response. I know, that's amazing.
Crazy.
Now, the rest of it actually, you know why you get achy and sore, from, when you have a virus infection? Because it's our bones that are releasing the immune cells. And they're actually ramping up, they're working harder, and they get sore. And so that's why we get achy. Matter of fact, for me, one of those signs about the flu is my back will go, that's the first sign I know I'm starting to get sick. Oh, my ribs and my back, just achy. That's it. I got to jump in and take care of some things, for that. So because that's our immune system is ramping up and releasing those white blood cells, to fight virus infections. So fermented foods, very important to help the gut. Reference number 6 for social media. And raw honey and bone broth. So both provide minerals and amino acids. So sometimes when we have that a virus infection, taste buds are altered. We were talking about that, weird things that happen, and we're not hungry. And so, but we do have to have enough energy for our immune system to work. And so, yes, doing some true raw, unpasteurized, unadulterated honey,
The only place you're going to get that is the guy down the street with the beehive. If you think you're going to get it anywhere else, it ain't going to happen.
Matter of fact, we're actually blessed. Have you been to Minko, Oklahoma?
Oh yeah, that's
for their bee.
That's where I used to have the little bears in here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And so they have actually.
That's the real deal.
And that's a real deal. There's a lot of honeybees in Oklahoma, and I know people with hives, and but Minko, Oklahoma had every late fall, early winter, when actually there's no more farming going on, they have a honey festival. And so the stores there have local honey, and they show how they do it and everything. It's really neat, a small community type thing. So, okay, lifestyle habits. And that's something else that I have problems, and I've noticed that whenever I allow my stress to overtake my life, I start having problems. And so I have a spot on my back that when I allow stressful items to overwhelm me, my back starts itching. And even one time, it got bad enough to where I had a little tiny blister, shingles, pop up. And then that was on a vacation. Actually, the stressful part was getting there. Once I got there and got everybody set up for that trip, I was able to relax. And the next day, that sore was gone. My immune system was able to keep it under control. And so we have to, take a break. And so I have to concentrate on that every day and do some breathing, meditation exercises, and get outside, even though today here is a cloudy day, but even that still helps. I'm going to get outside and sit outside actually after lunch today and just enjoy that and take a little break, and do a little meditation, but clear my mind and not be thinking about life stresses and things going on. So we have to protect our sleep. So yes, our immune system does need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. If we don't get that, we're going to have more problems. So our immune system requires that to reset, to the immune system to work better, and it's just statistically reference number 7. So on that, exercise is very important in moderation. Matter of fact, there's actually studies showing in young people, men and women that are in basic military training. Those people, that's a very stressful situation. I mean, extremely. Those of us that haven't gone through that, we really don't understand. You can see it on the movie, but unless you're in it, you really don't understand. But it's common for many of those people to get sick during their training because it's so stressful. They're not letting them sleep much. They're trying to break them down to build them back up mentally and physically, but it plays a number on their immune system. Matter of fact, there's also even some studies about beta-glucans in those situations. And so they actually had barracks where they gave a group of the soldiers beta-glucans, and those soldiers did not get as many colds and flu as the barracks that they did not get that. So it's very interesting. So those things can help out. But move daily, don't overdo it, and it helps with the immune system to function better. Manage stress. That's my problem that I have overall is this: I allow stress to overwhelm me, and then vitamin D. I mentioned sunlight, so I'm rambling somewhat because there's things that I do. My vitamin D receptor doesn't work. I still take my vitamin D because there's other things it's going to do besides just the immune system. But we do have to keep vitamin D levels up. We found with more recent pandemics that people that had higher vitamin D levels had less complications. And even in some instances, people that were in the hospitals, they give them vitamin D infusions and they did better than the ones that didn't get that infusion. So vitamin D can help most people. Use heat therapy. So regular sauna use has been associated with fewer respiratory infections, virus infections. Targeted supplements. Vitamin D3, and I always add in K2. We now know that combination works better. And it's vitamin K2 doesn't help D3 to be absorbed better. It's just that they both have their own activities, and they're slightly different. And so I do like to go with both. You're going to hear a lot more about vitamin K2 with about anti-cancer type support and immune and bone. I think vitamin K2, we're going to get blood tests are available for vitamin K2. I expect that to become a more normal type thing. And so I often will recommend my clients to do that. I missed something. Hydrate.
Oh, that's nothing. No, you can go past that.
Hydrate. So we have to drink. We have to drink our fluids and avoid sugar and excess alcohol. And so that weakens the immune system time and time again. Research is showing that. So more fruits and vegetables and proteins and fats and oils that's what our diet needs to be. Keep it super simple. We need those basic foods. And once we start going outside of that, matter of fact, the one time that I've noticed over the years that I kept having problems with a cold every year, the same time of year. It took me a couple of years to figure it out, but it's because I was under a lot of stress. I was managing a lot of people, building some stuff at church, and I wasn't eating right, a lot of stress, and I wasn't sleeping right. And every single year, right before that musical was going to start, I would get a terrible cold. I mean, to the point where I'd lose my voice. I couldn't sing. Not that I'm a great singer anyway, but I couldn't sing. And as a matter of fact, sometimes even I couldn't even be in the musical.
You ever think somebody may have been passing that virus off to you about the time you were supposed to sing?
Well, it's that time of year, there's not as much sunshine, vitamin D is not as good. There's many things, going into that. And then also a group of us, there's a couple hundred people working on that project, we're close.
Yep.
we're working together continuously. So yes, things are going to be passed, but my immune system was weak enough to always to allow that to happen.
One thing I want to add on hydrate, a lot of people here use RO water, so they have a filtering system, a high capacity filtering system, and it takes out the minerals. And people don't realize that it's so good that it's also removing the minerals from your water. And so you need to remineralize if you're not taking a mineral supplement. At the very least, a pinch of quality salt, Himalayan sea salt, whatever, but a pinch of that to put minerals back in that water as you're drinking each cup. Put a pinch of water in it.
Yeah,
and a lemon is good.
Yeah, hydrate is not water, just water.
Yeah.
But we have to have those minerals.
Yeah.
And so my little recipe is I'll take juice of a lemon and salt and cream of tartar.
I never knew of that one. So
TAR.
Yeah, I know what it is. I just
and it is actually a lot of potassium. So I will put that in my drink too. And so
a pinch.
I just kind of I dash it in, dash it in. I can just estimate.
I got you.
And so not a lot. Kind of like a salt. I just
You taste it?
It's no, I don't really taste it, but it's actually dry.
Yep.
And so, as a matter of fact, it doesn't mix well.
Okay.
And there's even a little bit left in the glass. If by chance there's too much left on the glass, I'll take a little bit more water, swish it around, and drink that too. I want to get all of it. So, because after my sauna, I've lost a lot of salt and fluid. So I'm hydrating, and which doesn't mean just water.
Right.
Yes, so that's right. That's very important. So
I never heard of cream of tartar, so I'm gonna.
Yeah,
it's not
so-
on here either.
No,
I
it's
have
not.
to make a note.
So, yeah, well, I don't know about viruses, for that, but it's a source of potassium. So, and you know what it comes from? It's inside the barrel of wines. When they ferment that wine and age that wine, it forms inside the wine.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is. So it's a natural product.
Thanks for telling me that. I had no idea.
Yeah. So, and there's also, it's used in baking, and I think I know what it is, but I think it's used to help whip meringue to give it stiffer peaks. But I'm not positive about that. So, okay. So vitamins and mineral supplements. And also check with your physician, and your healthcare practitioner to make sure that these are going to be appropriate, and that warning and the FDA disclaimer about that. So zinc helps your immune system in many ways, and so zinc, and then quercetin, actually another small particle from fruits and vegetables, but quercetin helps zinc to get into the virus and to work better. And so they work in tandem. And so I do like both those. Matter of fact, I take both of those every single day. And so it's part of my protocols. We'll just leave it at that. So zinc is essential for the immune cells to function, and is a key gatekeeper for antiviral activity by our body. 3/4 of you watching this are deficient in zinc.
In my little deal that we did with the Flourish zinc test, I had 5 tests, handed them out, and not one of them could taste that zinc.
That zinc. Yeah. So that's one way. That's a screening test. Blood tests are available. They're not 100%. There's what's in this serum. That's not what is inside the cells. And so, but that can give some insight to that. But most people are deficient in zinc and not getting enough. So vitamin C, most of us know about that. Vitamin C may help shorten the duration and ease the severity of common respiratory infections, quote from article number 4. Okay. And so on the references, elderberry, is another item, an herbal product. I'm excited. Actually, I have elderberry plants growing this year.
Wow.
I don't think they're going to get big enough this year, to produce the elderberries. But I got some cuttings from a friend, and so I've got 2 plants growing. And so I'm, next year I will have some elderberry that I could use in case I need it. And so it does take a little bit special preparation. You just don't eat those elderberries.
Oh, you don't?
No, you have to process them a little bit. Okay, it's not hard, but you have to process them just a little bit. But elderberry helps reduce upper respiratory symptoms in controlled clinical trials. Reference number 13. The reason I'm saying these references is we're talking about supplements specifically, and so I'm talking about references from medical journals. That's why I'm saying that. And then well, I've mentioned beta glucans, but another one that is popular, becoming more popular, is AHCC. It's another kind of like an alpha glucan. It's a little different shape than beta, and other medicinal mushrooms support our immune system. This kind of ramp it up so that it works better. And then NAC, N-acetylcysteine, and selenium, help replenish what's called glutathione. And glutathione is the ultimate antioxidant that repairs our body. So if we have a cold or the flu, tissues are going to be damaged. We're going to just think of the runny nose, watery, itchy, red eyes and nose. That's some damage. Actually, histamine is irritating that. Well, the glutathione helps to repair our body. So that's the ultimate antioxidant, and then the selenium also helps with that, and it's actually kind of like selenium, zinc, and some copper. Those are a few basic nutrients that helps our body to make glutathione. So our body can make it. You can take it as a supplement too, but our body does make that glutathione. Okay, so here's the bottom line. So Ryan, do we have any questions? So well, kind of a cue there if you want to start printing that off. But bottom line is that we can't avoid viruses. Okay, now we can reduce exposure to that, and we can build up our body to better handle it. Matter of fact, there could even be some theories about viral load. So if we're exposed to one virus, well, that's nothing. Our body can kind of keep that under control. If we're exposed to a cloud of viruses, that's a little bit more overwhelming for our body at one time. That's a little bit more of a challenge. So if you feel like you're in that situation, you can be doing a lot of these different things. So let's see here. Build up our body. Eat the rainbow. The rainbow of colors on the fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds. Moderate exercise activity. Manage our stress, and then supplement wisely. Take targeted approaches for what you know that your body needs. And meaning, you can do some testing to figure some of that out.
So you gave a story in the chamber of somebody that lost the use of their legs because they were doing Epsom salt baths.
Yeah.
And so that's a
Thank you.
I mean, that's a crazy thing that happened in a week. They regained their mobility. They had lost their mobility
Right.
from taking an Epsom salt bath, which is high in magnesium.
Correct.
And so eliminate that magnesium overload and get your mobility back. I mean, that's a crazy story you told.
Yeah, so we can't get too much of, matter of fact, I mentioned zinc is important, but too much zinc can create health problems. And so I had a distant relative that was taking too much zinc, and she had diarrhea because she wasn't absorbing it at all. It became a toxin in her gut. Well, she was also taking a not well-absorbed zinc. So when she cut back on the zinc, I actually took a break from it over the holiday, the diarrhea went away. So she was actually just getting the wrong one.
I don't think people understand what that is when things don't stay in your system and your body's trying to flush it out as quickly as possible. It's probably, so you got bad food, that
Sure.
can do it. You get the wrong supplement overload, that can do it. People don't understand what that's all about. And then you don't want to go, you're taking all this stuff to stop that, and then you go the other direction and you can't eliminate. So those are two really, really important things to understand why your body's doing it.
That's right.
And pay attention to it and don't overcorrect. Correct.
And that's what when a client comes to me with constipation or diarrhea, I'm looking at what they're taking, and then gut health, there's many things, but, often, there can be a toxic chemical issue, and sometimes it's medication, but sometimes it can be even natural things. So we have to be cautious about that. And so
you got a lot of questions there to get
questions
to.
here today too. So thank you, Ryan. So dosing Pectisol. And so Pectisol is an item, modified citrus pectin that attaches to GAL-3 receptors on cancer cells and fibrous tissues. So I do use it for several different health issues, including scarring, and any fibrous type thing going on in the body, even I would suspect, may benefit from this.
So kidney scarring, cysts in the kidney. Is that something
if
that
it's
you
a
would look
fibrous type thing, yes. Any type of a fibrous growth, for example, scarring. Some people keloid real bad, and they make really bad, sometimes dark but thick, or just scar months after surgery. This actually attaches to those cells and helps keep them from growing like that. So dosing of Pectosol at times, I've asked the manufacturers at SEACT, okay, it's not made by SEACT. Okay, Pectosol, talking about taking it with other supplements. So Pectosol, okay, so Pectosol is a kind of a binder. It is a fiber that if you take it close to anything, if you take it close to SEACT, take it close to a mineral, take it close to a medication, take it close to your food, take it close to your coffee, anything, it's going to bind up those nutrients and they won't be absorbed. Now, it is small enough of a particle. It's modified citrus pectins. That means they've treated it so it's small enough to be absorbed. But if you take it close to anything, now it's going to bind that up. Now that particle is larger and it's not going to be absorbed probably. So now even the Pectosol is not going to work.
So your last meal's at 6 and at 9 o'clock, take that before you go to bed?
2 or 3 hours after eating a meal. Okay. That's right.
And so then it can work all night.
Exactly. That's another advantage about doing intermittent fasting. So we eat at 6 typically, and that means at 7 o'clock, we're finished by 7, and that means at 9 I can take my Pectosol. And then that means an hour later I can take a couple more pills I need to take before bedtime.
Okay.
To help me sleep through the night. And I love this conversation. Thank you. We do too. We love doing this. So love sharing this.
Thank you.
So whatever happened to the HIV virus? Well, it's still out there, and so it's always going to be around. And so we just haven't heard because there are medications that actually antiviral medications they're using to help treat it. And so, but it is definitely out there. I see those commercials all the time. So it is still out there. It doesn't make the headlines because there's other viruses that are making the headlines now. Let's see, for cancer patients, how many hyperbaric chamber sessions do you recommend and how often? So, yeah, I can't prescribe anything, and I want to be kind of cautious on this, but, once a week isn't enough. And for my clients, I'm recommending, doing it 2 or 3 times a week, because we want to improve their circulation. And matter of fact, I took a few things before I left the house, so that I'd have that in my blood system so that when I did the hyperbaric session, it dilates the blood vessels so I can get those nutrients everywhere throughout my body, nooks and crannies and little tiny places that don't have good circulation. Cancer cells have a lot of that. So therefore, several times a week, at least a couple of times a week, typically.
And I want to interject here. Hyperbarics is not going to push back on cancer, quote unquote, as much as it's going to keep your body healthy to operate at an optimum level. Because as you've said 100 times, as we've known each other, if you can maintain good metabolic health, your body will go and search out the bad things and take care of it.
That's right.
But we get so metabolically, in deficit. That's what we're trying to keep maintained.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. Another person, thank you for your service. You're welcome. Thank you. So I love that. Giving us feedback that this is working. So, okay. So mushroom coffee is okay? ? Compared to regular coffee for people after cancer. So definitely, matter of fact, all kinds of herbs and teas and leaves and stems. And matter of fact, I have some black mulberries and white mulberry trees in my yard. There's actually a lot of research showing that the stems and the leaves of those have anti-cancer actions. We just don't do anything with it. We could, but there's many types of herbal things and mushrooms and things. But also be careful about overcooking. So we talked about temperature earlier. I'd lean toward more like a green tea type temperature, 175 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever that is, Celsius. It's going to be the upper end, of that temperature to keep from damaging the polyphenols.
Do you use a coffee press to do teas?
Yes.
Or do you use a stainless ball?
Well, actually, it's actually a stainless filter.
Right.
It's kind of like a press in a way, but matter of fact, I make a Sun coffee. I've actually switched gears a little bit from a press, to actually it's got a stainless filter in the middle of it. So you put that in the middle and then put that in the water to brew the tea, and getting away from the plastic tea bags.
Right.
On that. So yes, but a press would work fine. Exactly. When you do that with these things, the beverage is going to be a little bit more, have more particles floating in it. It's not going to be as pure.
That's good too.
Which actually is very important.
As long as you don't have to chew.
The gut, you don't have to chew. The gut bacteria loves that actually.
Yeah.
It actually feeds the good bacteria.
Yeah.
The fiber, the bacteria just chomps away at that and grows. So the best form of vitamin D supplement is the calcitriol. So, the vitamin D3 supplements, are kind of like inactive, and our body has to make it as calcitriol, and it takes magnesium for that to happen. So, calcium, just vitamin D3 supplements. If you can't get outside and get enough, or your blood test, assess, don't guess, you need a blood test to figure that out, how much you need. And you need to know how much in the summertime you need to take, and then how much in the wintertime when you're not outside. So you actually need to be testing every 6 months to a certain extent till you find out what's normal for your body with that. So there is a quality issue in vitamin D supplements. So you got to make sure whatever you're taking, you got to test and make sure that that's working for you. This person said also, I heard that black tea will remove mercury from your body when eating seafood. I haven't evaluated that. So our body can remove mercury. Binders can help remove mercury. Matter of fact, I've seen people with toxic amounts of mercury and it go to normal pretty quick within a few months. So it
What
can
were they
work.
doing?
Actually another supplement called alpha lipoic acid, and they cut back on the tuna. Okay.
Yeah.
And so there's a reason for the mercury toxicity, and it has to do usually with eating fish. It's not just mercury, but fish. In the Amazon, they actually evaluate visual issues with a special grid and
Their acuity.
acuity, but there's some lines that they're supposed to be able to see. If they can't see those lines, that means that those natives that are eating the fish in the Amazon water are toxic from mercury.
Oh, I'm going to look for that. I'm going to look for that chart because I'd like to do that
Yeah,
myself.
so I can't remember. It seems like the chart name may begin with an A on that. I'm not sure on that.
Because
so.
of my dental work, I've got a real
Oh, okay.
heavy mercury
Yeah.
toxicity.
So actually, you print that off and you look at it, and you should be able to see the wavy lines
I'm gonna do
on
that.
that. So anyway, so they actually will
And
go.
Pectosol
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
sauna.
Yeah, several
all,
things.
All those things will help you detox with
get
heavy
rid of the
metals.
mercuries. Matter of fact, we're exposed to those toxic metals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mercury can be a particular problem for certain people due to what they're eating or their environment. Okay, but you have to know if that's a problem. A urine or a hair test, are easy tests. For that, you can do a blood test too. But
If you want a history hair test because you're looking back
Yes.
in time.
That's correct.
If-
Urine test is today.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's correct. And mercury can be deposited in cells, like a hair test is a great option for that. Between matcha and green tea, which one has more and most available antioxidants? Matcha has a lot more, maybe 10 times more EGCG in it because you're consuming the whole leaf. It's not a clear brew. It's a cloudy beverage. And so, matter of fact, your gut bacteria loves that. Once again, we're talking about just either doing a stainless ball or a stainless filter or a press. Those are my favorites. And the press is going to be a stainless press, for that typically. Cancer patients could use raw honey? Well, I'll qualify that statement. There may be some people with a compromised immune system due to treatment that they may have to be careful about some of the bacteria that might be in that. But I don't tell my clients not to eat honey. I tell them to be careful about the quantity. So
And
it is
quality.
a sugar and quality.
Yeah.
And make sure it doesn't have other things added to it. You can't tell. There are some tests, and I'm not an expert in that. I probably need to study that sometime. But there are quality issues on honey. And so you need to know who you're getting it from to make sure that it's a matter of fact, you want to get it locally, okay? Because it may even help out with allergies because of the pollen that's in that, and it works in a homeopathic type way to help with your allergies. So I'd love buying it locally. Do you recommend using melatonin in low dose 1 milligram every day? And, it depends on the person. And so 1 milligram up to 3 milligrams is typically what's needed for our body. Our body makes it, should. Some people don't, and they would benefit more than the other person. Now, 1 to 3 milligrams, maybe 6 milligrams, a person could take it to help them go to sleep. If it doesn't help you go to sleep, that's not your problem.
Mm-hmm.
There's something else going on. So you can also assess, you can do a test for your neurotransmitters and your melatonin level to see if that is an issue when you go to bed or not. I often do go higher doses, so there's cancer research in humans at 40 milligrams, 40 milligrams and higher. So melatonin is an antioxidant. Antioxidants repair the body. That's why it's important to get our sleep. Our body makes that melatonin when it's dark and when we're sleeping. So we have to have a dark room. We can't have light. We can't have sound. Those things will keep us from making our melatonin.
Okay. Well, we are pushed up against the hour, and we covered a lot. We did that very well.
Yeah.
Do you have any insight into autoimmune and mast cell disease?
I do.
Cell?
Yeah.
I've had 4 people this last week come to me and say, what do I do about autoimmune and mast cell? And they've done everything medically, and they've not moved the needle. And I've got a lot of people that have had positive results,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing their own thing. It's not with my guidance. Some of them are with your guidance. Is that a topic we should cover next week?
That'd be good.
All right. So next week is autoimmune and mast cell and
Yes.
whatever else fits in that little
In that category, that's right. Yeah,
Because-
I have some personal experience with some of
Yeah,
those too,
so
myself.
that's quite a deal that people are going through. So anyway, we're going to break it off here. Thank you, sir. This is Pete with PrevailOverCancer.com.
Pete.
I'm Paul at Hyperbaric.plus at 122nd.
Keith.
Keith, did I say Pete? Hey, Pete. Hey, I got a new friend named Pete. So Keith at PrevailOverCancer.com. I don't know where that came from, for Pete's sake. So anyway, I'm Paul with Hyperbaric.plus, and we're at 122nd and May in Oklahoma City. If ever you're in this neck of the woods, come by and see us.
Great.
Thank you again. We'll see you next
Thank
week.
you.
Pete, where did that come from? Golly.